Welcome back to Where is the Money? So money is not with the banks right now. What is this I hear that the banks had to borrow billions upon billions of dollars from the Fed's standing repo facility? That's the place where they go when they have liquidity issues.
Do you understand that the banks are collapsing right in front of our eyes, right this very second? The banks are collapsing. From October 15th to today, they have taken $106 billion from the repo market. That is when the Fed injects liquidity into the banks with pretty much a IOU. It's not good. It has not been used since 2020. It is not something that is meant to be a cure. It is a band-aid to a banking problem. And now with that, it is a demolition of the system. Again, this whole government shutdown, all the jobs being cut with Amazon, UPS, other places like Target. This is the reset. Do you guys remember in 2022, the Great Reset? Well, this is the Great Reset. Build back better. Remember that one from the Biden administration? Well, it's just got a red paint to it now. It's just that the other team is taking care of this building back better, Great Reset. But you have to have the old system, be destroyed and demolished first before you can bring up the new system. That is the idea of the order from chaos, the phoenix rising from the ashes. And it's fascinating to be living through this entire situation. It's like watching a slow motion train crash or car wreck, just watching it unfold right in front of your eyes, and you have zero power, zero control over it. All you can do is watch and observe and do what you can with trying to preserve whatever financial stability you do have, whether that's precious metals. I know some people go to crypto. I'm sketched out by crypto because that is their objective, a digital currency on the blockchain, everything tracked and traced, everything surveilled through AI governance. That is the future that they are trying to inject. They want to get rid of the old system, especially with how the government is functioning right now, and bring in a new system with corporations controlling everything. Just look at who's funding this new ballroom. Go ahead and look it up. All these corporations that are involved. I'm sure they have the public's interest at heart. I'm sure they just really love us as the little, peasants of the world. Just unbelievable to be living during this time.
But it's pretty quiet, right? They haven't been doing any announcements about it, keep it hush-hush, but we have reports that they're borrowing billions because now the government shutdown has started and continuing. All of those people that would be getting deposits are not getting it, so the bank can't lend out that money to make new loans off of interest off of other people. Plus, the existing balances that those individuals did have, they're pulling out to pay bills. So that means the bank is having liquidity issues.
We had a rate cut paired with him sounding a little hawkish. The Fed also announced a hard stop to its balance sheet reduction, what we call quantitative tightening, effective December 1st. What's the real story here? Is this a central bank in control, or is it cornered, forced to kind of provide liquidity to a fragile banking system while projecting this tough stance on inflation? What are your thoughts?
Well, this is a Fed chair hoisted on his own petard. So those of us who have been following the repo market, for example, following the secured overnight financing rate and a lot of different other indicators, it was painfully clear that the end of QT was coming, and that Powell was essentially the market was going to force his hand, right? Because of this crazy ample reserve regime that the Fed insists on maintaining, because of the way that they have shifted away from a model of a reserve requirement and to a model of paying banks interest not to lend. The result is that whether the Fed wants to or not, in terms of reducing the balance sheet, whether or not they want to use that to fight inflation, they can't now because it's going to cause another blow up of the repo market like we saw back in September of 2019.
Now, it's never a good thing, recession or otherwise, for the bank to need to borrow money for their deposit holders. This is starting to feel like 2020. This is starting to feel like 2008. If they have a bank run they will not be able to honor its deposit holders, which causes mass panic, which causes a further spiraling of the economic condition.
Bad news, fam. The banks don't have any money. I wish I was joking or exaggerating, but unfortunately, in the month of October, since the government shut down, banks have had to borrow over $50 billion just to meet their daily withdrawals because they don't have any money inside the bank. In late October 2025, banks borrowed a record amount from the Federal Reserve's standing repo facility due to liquidity pressures, which literally means there's no money in the banks. There are not a lot of major news organizations talking about this, and I'm seeing people speculate that this is because they don't want to run on the banks because they already can't give you any money. They don't have any. So if there were to be a run on the banks right now, it would be incredibly disastrous because it would expose the fact that our country is broke. Make America great again, baby. We are so fucked, you guys. I'm sorry. We're fucked. But some people think that this isn't an accident. And by the way, if you can hear the air sirens going off in the background, don't worry. I'm sure it's just an alien invasion or nuclear war. The Trump team is creating a U.S. reserve cryptocurrency, a national strategic crypto reserve. And they have some weird, freaky, big plans for this in the month of November. I'm sorry, you're going to have to go find the crypto bros to understand what's going on. I'm not a crypto person, but I think that we're all going to have to become crypto people if you can read between the lines, because I believe that what is happening right now to our country is literally, I believe that Trump is purposely destroying the US dollar in order to replace it with his own form of digital currency in what can only be described as the most brazen and criminal operation in maybe the history of the world.
So where does this put us in the state of the economy? They don't want to say it's a recession. They don't want to say it's a depression. We see sky-high prices for every single thing. We see jobs laying off by the hundreds of thousands. We see everything is not moving in our favor, not including the tariffs and the effects of that. And now the final piece of the puzzle is that the banks are struggling. This is not good, recession or otherwise.
Another spooky story for you this Halloween. Today alone, the banks have had to borrow $50 billion in emergency liquidity, making it the largest amount they have had to borrow since the government shut down and people missed their first paychecks on October 15th. And if you don't know what that means, it's basically people don't have paychecks coming in to be able to, just go pay their bills. So they're having to go to the bank and withdraw the money out of their accounts and actually go pay those bills or buy those groceries. And the banks don't really have the money on hand because they lended it out elsewhere. And so the banks are having to borrow from the emergency liquidity market, which is backed by bonds and mortgage-backed securities. And since the government shut down and the first missed paycheck happened on October 15th, the banks have had to borrow a total of $106 billion. And you guys, that's not really good because sooner or later, the banks aren't going to have your money to give back to you. And of course, tomorrow, 40 million people are set to lose their ability to buy groceries at all. And so all of this is going on simultaneously while people are worried about how they're going to pay their bills or buy groceries for their kids. And it looks like there's no end in sight because the government is still shut down. So seems to be getting more spooky by the day. Happy Halloween. God bless.
So some people would try to spin this to say, listen, banks borrow money all the time. This is no issue. It's backed by FDIC, right? Up to $250,000, you're good, right? A lot of people got security that everything is going to be okay. However, We've never had to use the FDIC. We don't know if they're equipped to be able to honor deposits for a bank-run situation where the economy tanks and the bank cannot honor its deposits, although they use that as an assurance that everything is okay. But have we ever tested that? I don't know, but we might have to, because these days it's looking closer to closer like an economic meltdown. Put your comments below. Let's talk about it. This is Where is the Money? Talk to you soon.